Hello, and welcome to the third day of the challenge. And it is Sunday morning, at least it is in UK. So I'm just checking that I'm live on Facebook, and I am. I love this piece of software, and because it works, and it's always good when something works. So, hi everyone. I hope that you had a chance to look at the challenge yesterday. And I know that with the challenges like that, sometimes it's like, oh, I'll just catch up when I have some time. I always say that whenever there is something urgent and something that I prioritize, I find time for it. And because there are so many different things around learning about nutrition, but we always have to make some time for it, right? Nobody else is going to make time for it. We have to do it. And therefore, giving ourselves the time to really truly step in to our intentions of how we want to transform our relationship with food, with sugar, especially, right? So I have my cup of coffee. That's my kind of guilty pleasure in the morning. Usually, I have really relaxing morning on Sunday. I read a book, maybe a magazine, and of course, have a time with the family. So we actually had a breakfast. So today is not going to be a long one. I want to make sure that there is enough knowledge in the previous two slide decks and challenges. I also want to invite you to the masterclass, which is going to happen. Now I have to check the date, but I will post in the group. Sorry. The masterclass will be only on Zoom, so you will have to register for Zoom, because that's your opportunity to ask questions, because there is so much knowledge in here, but maybe you have some questions that have not been answered and you want to know, or you've heard something, read something, you're confused, or any particular ones, then by all means, post it in here in the group, but also come on Zoom and we can have a more kind of connection there. It won't be streamlined into the Facebook group. You have to be there live, and I will post the time and the date soon so that you can attend. Okay, so let's start today's presentation. So today is 27th of November. I'm doing this at 9:30 a.m. UK time. And the 27th November is about creating your own optimal carb plan. And I'm going to also mention about sweetness and its impact on the blood sugar, because I think that's confusing as well. And just really shortly explain how sweeteners work. Okay, so it's a heavy slide, low carb versus optimum carb plan. So a lot of my clients and people generally come to me from very low carb diets or with very low carb diets, because that's usually what is prescribed by the doctors to get sugar levels down, right? So low carb means less than 50 grams of carb per day, small portion of rice. Just to perspective, is a small portion of rice with a fizzy drink. Not the healthiest, right? But when we think about processed carbs, that's what it's going to be. But it could be, in terms of the complex carb, it could be probably half of broccoli, a few sticks of celery, maybe a few pieces of pepper. So far, far more to get to the 50 gram, and so much more beneficial. So whenever you are on a carb or low carb or very low carb diet, which is below 50 grams of carbs, then what matters is the quality of the carbs you eat, so that you are not hungry. And then you can have a little bit more complex carbs, which have more starch, more fiber, and will keep you fuller for longer, right? Because the small portion of rice and a fizzy drink will not keep you not hungry. Probably you will be hungry in an hour, or even sooner, to be honest. So I'm not saying that you eat that, but it's just giving you a perspective. So many fruits and vegetables are excluded from the low carb diet in a true sense, because by the amount of carbs they contain, right? And it's just stabilizing the sugar level. So, for example, somebody may say that if they eat it's quite often in ketogenic diets as well, in order to have our body as the like fat burning machine. We can't have any kind of sugar, even natural sugar coming from, I don't know, peppers or apples or some other sweeter fruits, because it means that that's what's gonna our body use for energy, not the fat we store. So a lot of people do that and they will have a lot of benefits. They will lose the weight, but in the longer term, for many people it's not sustainable. People feel low in energy and constantly hungry, especially when they are physically active. And but it does give good blood sugar results, because it's a drastic intervention. We are not designed as humans to thrive on a very little amount of carb, and it has to be, as I said, a right selection of carbs, right? Because um, yeah, if we're not selecting proper carbs, as I said, we're going to be hungry. And that's why a lot of the people who are doing ketogenic diets, low carb diets, they need the guidance, because quite often there is a good guidance what to include. It's just we haven't done our own work sometimes in a way, that, and it's such a drastic change that we want to change, like that the change basically is about removing a lot of different foods which we are used to, and then our body is hungry because it does like to have some carbs for energy. Optimum carb, on the other hand, is not necessarily, let's say, classified as a low carb diet. So is adjusting the quantity and quality of carbs to your lifestyle. So if you tell me that I go for a walk every morning, I exercise and go for a swim, then you're not going to thrive on a low carb diet, because your body needs good energy. So carb calculation is required at the beginning to understand how much you consume and how you feel. Many people don't do that, and I will post in the group the carb calc. That's the application on the phone, so you don't have to do it yourself. Like, it will show you the portion of food, and then you can basically well, you can check how much carb it has. Now, it's not about fixating on, oh, it's too much, too less. It's to understand and learn. As I said in the first day of challenge, like, let go of perfection, let it be messy, let it be all over the place at the beginning, and once it gets to the point, you can totally absorb, have it, right? So that's an important statement on that. And removing sugary snack, you probably remove most of the unwanted carbs anyway. And then once you do that, and find some healthier replacements, which I mentioned yesterday, um, you can have half of the, or even more than the half of the job done. And then what happens is, then you look at the carbs on your plate, right? And then breakfast, at lunchtime, at dinner. So you have a little bit of example. So those are the healthy carbs in here. And here is the food, which is, or the plate with the salmon and a bit of greens, which is probably one of my favorite food. It doesn't have a lot of carbs because, in a sense, we understand carbs. Broccoli and beans will have some carbs. Salmon, of course, doesn't have any carbs. But this is the example of the very low carb meal, which you can have once a day, for example, whereas the other meal could have a small portion of carbs. But it's not necessarily how the nutritional plate looks, because the nutritional plate really wants us to have a very small amount, like a handful amount of carbs here as well. So assuming that 10% of your energy comes from carbs, so around 200 calories, um, you can assume that at the very beginning. So I have a very sedentary lifestyle. I'm not going to be active. Therefore, 10% of my energy will come from carbs, and it's 200 calories. And it's not always 200 carbs. It could be less, could be more, depending what you eat. Obviously, 200 calories is the most calorific food, obviously, is fat, right? So can ramp up the fat from your protein intake predominantly, right, or from some healthy oils, and I mean, fish is going to have quite a bit of calories in that sense, but we're talking about the carbs. So when you put a lot of carbs in the form of vegetables and fruits, that will be a lot of food to actually have 200 calories, right? If you have baked goods, I don't know, I have a frog in my throat. I'm sorry. I think it's the morning. So if we, the quality of the carbs counts. So making sure that um, we eat good quality carbs, um, and we don't necessarily have overeat it, or we just say, oh, we're going to have, I don't know, half a bar of chocolate, which probably going to be 200 calorie, and that's it, and we're going to be hungry for the rest of the day, right? And again, I'm not saying we shouldn't have any. It's just the quantity really, really matters, and making this work for you. Okay, obviously, if we are more active, 50% of energy to come from carbs will be about, on the 2,000 calorie plan, it will be 1,000 calories, right? This is a very simplified matter, and we are such a complex individuals that there is a lot of biochemical reactions taking place, and not everyone absorbs the carbs in the same way. I think what the future is going to do for us, it's going to be very much more optimize and customize to a person. So even now, which I'm trying to get, because as an experiment, you can basically, you get a machine, and I'm not exactly know how they work, but you can breathe in, and the machine will calculate your nutritional requirements through your breath, right? Because there is a lot of, when you think about the breathing out, um, is the product of your digestion. Is one way to detoxify yourself is through getting the breath out, through the processes that are going on in your body. And there are machines, and they're not very big. They just basically ask you to breathe in and breathe out to the machine, and it will give you some calculation of the nutritional value. Maybe you don't need a lot of carb. Yeah, so this is like another level, but I think a lot of us have to get the basics right. Okay, so meal plan for your lifestyle. Now, I'm very much a person who loves intuitive eating plan, but there are times in your life that intuitive not necessarily works because everything else is against you. The aging, the hormonal imbalances, festive things, like all sorts of different things are going on in your life. So this intuition needs a little bit of help. I say, if you are get these principles right, to more or less, obviously, then intuition's gonna be you helping your intuition in the future. You will know what to choose and not what to choose, because one of the things is that uh, you can definitely do this for yourself. So obviously, this is a reminder from the last time. So we have like simple carbs and complex carbs. We don't want that. We want more complex carbs. Rather than good and bad carbs, I think it just categorizes food. I mean, this is food. Food is food. It's not good, not bad, doesn't do anything to me. Like I am in control, right? I am in control. I can exchange or replace simple carbs for complex carbs, and I can be happy and healthy. And then we have healthy fats. So when we think about the insulin resistance, which is basically the main contributor to type 2 diabetes. So our body produces insulin, but it's our body, especially the blood cells, are resistant to allow insulin to work in a proper way. So it's not even enough insulin. It's about our body being resistant, because our body produces so much insulin, right, that at some point our cells just like are confused because they don't know what to do. And this is the combination of two factors, the carbs and fat. It's important that when you look at your meal, the protein usually is fine. So when you think about our body, it will burn sugar in our bloodstream first for energy, then fat, and then protein. Protein is usually in our muscles. It's a important building block of our muscles. It's not going to be burned unless we're sick. And I could see it with my dad. My dad, because nothing else was working, the body was not getting the energy it needed. It started to burn muscle mass. And over the few months, my dad lost three-quarters almost of his weight. And unfortunately, his liver stopped working and all of that. And it's just, unfortunately died in September from, I would say, malnutrition and just really difficult for the body to cope with all of that. Okay, so healthy fats are important part, and that will be the form of nuts, some olive oils, which is good, not much, just 1 teaspoon or two. Fish, oily fish, avocado is so good, chia seeds, pumpkin seeds, amazing. Well, I think those are eggs. Yeah, I wouldn't have more than 2 per week, to be honest. I think it's more than enough. And those, I think, are flax seeds. So healthy fats. How can I add that to my diet? And the best thing is to do it in breakfast. Add, when you have like a sugar-free granola or something, you add a teaspoon of chia seed, you add some flax seeds, you add some pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, a bit of the crushed nuts if you can have them. This is such a beautiful food, and it will keep you so full for long. This will show you just in a what the plate should be like. So half of this half of that, it really is a lot of food. There is a little bit of potatoes, so starchy carbs, but most of it is fruits and vegetables. There is a little bit of carb here, so you have some pasta, would obviously change all of that on a whole meal, and obviously some legumes and protein. So those are protein, right? You have asparagus even here, beans, chickpeas, there are some nuts, egg, and fish. So this is like, it shows a little bit, and then you add a little bit of other things, it's just spices, some pumpkin seeds, and all of the other thing. But it just shows you the way we want to eat as much as possible, right? And how different it is from the thing we eat, right? Um, or maybe not. Maybe you are trying to achieve that for sure. So uh, let me know in the comments. Give me the examples of the plates. One of the things um, I usually have with my clients is give me the pictures of the plates. What do you have on your plate? And I can help you, right, with a proper adjustment of the values on the plate. So getting very, very real and practical. Okay, so those are the food I cook. And that's for me optimum carb plates, right? So you have some potatoes. This is the dal, which is absolutely amazing. Like, this is all plant-based. There is no meat here at all. But you could add meat. Now, as I said, or meat or fish, right? But this is jackfruit. This is like a whole meal, a whole grain rice. This is my favorite Tuscan bean soup. I love it. And this is even a pizza, but it has so much green stuff on it and a very, very, very thin dough. So, and this was our kind of the lunch party in my garden when it was nice weather here in UK. I love doing those pea burgers. I think those were chickpeas, and there was some cashew cream and pesto. When I have time and a lot of energy, I usually love cooking. And I must say, I love cooking in spring and summer. In winter, for me, it's, so you're probably going to find pumpkin soups and a little bit of warming dishes. But it's still the same principle applies, right? And this is beautiful because it has low fat, and it has optimum carb, and really, really beneficial for your body. Now, I know that not everyone's going to become vegan and plant-based overnight, but I would say if you can replace 3 or 4 meals and make them plant-based, you will be fantastic. You really will help you in your diet for sure. So and then in any of this, you can add some salmon as well, and all of that. You just have to be mindful of the fat in order to, again, fight with insulin resistance. We need to lower, the simple carb content and also saturated fat. Okay, so on this one, this is example of meal plan. This is available on my website to buy, weekly plant-based plan. It has all of the nutritional value, including the carbs. And as I said, you can use the carb calc app to quantify the amount of carbs you have. It will help you. But it's simple. I keep my mornings almost the same. I sometimes have very savory smoothie with everything I add, the chia seeds and all of that. Or sometimes I have overnight vanilla protein oats. I have some lentils, quinoa salad, you can add a piece of fish, and then you have Tuesday. You get, again, overnight protein oats. So one of these is you can have vanilla and cocoa, so means you add a bit of the cocoa powder. You have roasted cauliflower burrito bowl. You can again have sugar-free granola with plant-based milk. I love it. Honestly, it's one of this quick food I have. Sometimes I do have a toast with something, depending how I feel. Tomato chickpea soup is really delicious. Roasted cauliflower burrito bowl for lunch. You can have guacamole roll-ups. That's really, so you basically take like wholemeal tortilla wraps, and you just put a lot of guacamole in it, and you can put maybe some tofu, again, maybe a bit of a fish if you want to, roll them up, and you have beautiful, instead of sandwiches, I guess. And then you have lentil and corn chopped salad and all of that. So you have a lot of that in the in this book. You can check it on my website, but I maybe can help you to. I can show you to that. But I will see whether I'll find it for you. Because I think it really is good for you to just have a look. And so when I finish that, I will show you that weekly plant-based plan, or maybe I can show you now. So I'll remove that and I will add this to the, so this is basically my plan, and it gives you a lot of different information. So peanut butter bagel, breakfast. Now bagels usually is interesting because bagels, it depends on that. Bagels are quite high in carbohydrates, and this one, so it has about 90 grams of carbs. Yeah, so it's quite high, and it has a quite high fat content. So I would say, when you can have it, well, when you go out, when you have a busy day, this is when you have it, not when you're sitting by the desk. Overnight vanilla protein oats, I said. Baked oatmeal, such a good thing. Moroccan lentils, Greek. So you have casserole, ramen soup. Again, it will have a little bit more carbs in some of those. So the way to do it, to reduce it, for example, if you want to have less, I mean, all of these carbs are complex. None of it is simple. So again, I don't think it should matter that much, right? Those are so good. This is 63 grams of carb, right? This is as well very good. So amazing recipe with all of this. You can always make some replacement. You can use if this serving, it basically tells you about the serving, right? It says 37 carbs per serving. It shows you the number of sugar but also fat. And again, you can always reduce it if you feel like it's too much. You can add less sweet potato, for example, although, you know, there isn't anything in here. There's coconut milk, full fat. You can, for example, not add the coconut milk if you feel like it's too much fat. Like, you can always adjust those recipes. But I would say all of those things, and even if they have a little bit more of what is just, they are all good. Nothing is processed, and everything is very, very good. Okay, so I remove that, and I back to this. Yeah, so it's ready for you. You can always adjust this, and it can be good for you. Now, I want to add just to hear about artificial sweeteners. Now, this stevia is not artificial sweetener. So there is a lot of like aspartame. Those are artificial sweeteners. They have been constructed to make sure, like aspartame is a lot used in Coca-Cola and all of that. Stevia is a more natural one, and that would be the only one I probably recommend for you. It's good for baking as well. I don't use a lot of myself. I don't need that sweetness, but it's more natural, and it's much, much, much sweeter than sugar, lesser in calories, and is absorbed into your bloodstream slower. But I've read the medical report, and the ingestion of artificial sweeteners, like aspartame, for example, results in the release of insulin from pancreas, because we have to make sure, and we have to understand that the digestion starts in our mouth, and we obviously have taste buds all over our mouth, and digestion starts there, and our body detects that something is entering our body, and it releases anything it needs, enzymes, to digest the food once it moves into our stomach and our gut, right? So if it feels it's sweet, it's going to release the insulin. That's how it works. It doesn't work when it goes here. It works when it's here. So therefore, the glucose is just basically mistaken that it's a glucose, but there is nothing to really take down as such, because it doesn't work the same way that glucose does. And it increases the insulin in our blood, and eventually leading to decreased receptor activity due to insulin resistance. So people who are on diet cokes, which I didn't know when I started this a few years ago. I did drink drink a lot of not a lot, but some diet drinks, because that's the only way for me to have something like that. But I've stopped. I don't even have it at all at the moment, because it's like, well, it's not working. And it's not working for many people who think like, I'm on a diet coke, I will be fine because I'm not eating these calories, but it doesn't work like that. Unfortunately, a lot of people will find that they will put on weight because the insulin resistance is there. So although not ideal, I would use sweeteners with caution. So they help to reduce sugar in diet overall and the number of calories consumed. But as I said, I would use stevia only, I think, not the other. And obviously, that's why when you think sugar-free, because artificial sweeteners are not sugar, so they are not glucose or not anything like that. So they will say sugar-free, but they're still sweet. You have to check on the packet at the back what it contains. But unfortunately, that's how sweeteners work. This is a reminder of, I said yesterday, healthy swaps: fruit, dry fruit, roasted nuts, carrots, pepper, cherry tomatoes, dry tomatoes, good quality dark chocolate, celery stick, edamame, plain yogurt with berries. I think it's a beautiful food, and yeah, and it's all nothing processed in here. Just be careful with dry fruit. Portion matters, and generally fruit, I believe it's okay. And in the research shows, like, one of the things I always say, if you are concerned about the fruit, measure your sugars, right? Measure your sugars. So you can do it through the glucose monitoring system. Now, you say, I'm not at risk of diabetes. I don't know whether I have diabetes. I just wanted to get rid of the sugar from my system. I just don't want to be anymore addicted. I don't want to have it. Then obviously it's a different story. But somebody who is careful about the sugar content in the food, because they are at risk, the best way to do it, in a sense, is actually measuring your blood sugars. So you measure before you eat, then you eat, and measure at 2 hours after eating. And only that way you will know what effect that food has on you. Because people say, oh, don't eat fruits, but your body may be different. And that's why this optimized, customized nutrition for individual is really important. Now, I have the Freestyle Libra. I'll just show you a little bit because I have it on my head, on my arm, and I scan it with my phone. And anyone can have it. Even my husband had it for a while as a healthy individual, not at risk of diabetes at all. He's 50. His blood sugars are perfect. Like, oh, can I have this, please? But no, not for me. And but he had it for a few days because you can buy it on your own. It costs like 50 quid in the UK, and you can have it for 14 days. Put it in your arm. You have to get used to it. You put it in a place that you make sure not when you move around the frames and doors, you don't catch it, because that's the way it can get um, destroyed, or you can have it out of your arm. It's not painful, but it's something that you have to get used to. It's not painful at all. You have it on the iPhone or other phone, which has to be, I think, a certain version of it, to install the app, and you measure your sugar all the time. I think it's the best solution ever to give you an idea what the sugars are doing. Sometimes we are scared to measure our sugars. I know. That's why measuring sugar is not always recommended. But then on the other side, how do you know? How do you know what the sugars are doing? Always finish with setting the intentions, but only also I wanted to mention a few things I have here you could potentially try. First of all, low sugar things. I bought this plant-based yogurt. This is the this one is the Coconut Lab. So it's main. I'm not very much so a big fan of coconut yogurt, but this one I want to try. It's mango and passion fruit. Yogurts can be very, very sweet, but it's amazing because per 100 gram it has 5.3 grams of sugar, so not too bad, but you have to make sure because the whole pot has 360 grams, so it's quickly gonna add up. So I need to make sure that I eat just the right amount, but it's quite low sugar. Another thing, this is available in UK only on internet. This is the ricotta, and if you want to think about trying something different, this is a vegan cheese. It has less fat than normal cheese, and it saturates only 5.4 gram, which obviously is still a little bit higher where we want it, but this is per 100 gram. You won't eat per 100 gram. So if you want to have something on some low sugar crackers for your cheese board at Christmas, this is really good, and it's called I'm Not Okay. And you go on the website, and it's made in London, and you can buy ricotta one, and it's garlic and really, really nice. Let me just remove this so you see. So that's a ricotta this, and just you have the Coconut Lab yogurt. I love corn versions. Now this is like a bit of a little bit processed food in terms of what it is, but it's actually quite good in terms it doesn't have a lot of fat. And I have it like it has a lot of protein. This one has milk proteins as well, so it's not vegan, but it's vegetarian. And it's only have very much small amount of sugar and fat, 0.9 gram per 100 gram. So nothing really. So I have a few of those with my salad for lunch, and it's perfect for a protein intake. I also like the corn slices, right? So this one is, I think, imitates a little bit of beef, but it has fat 0.9 gram, 1 quarter of pack, not much sugars, not a lot of salt. It really is a nice thing you can have from time to time on your sandwich. And the recent discovery, like I'm not a bacon girl, I've never been, but this is absolutely amazing. La Vie is a plant-based bacon made in France. And now, I'm not recommending a lot of this, but sometimes we want something different. Like we want to eat as we used to, but healthier. This has 81% soy protein. It's high in proteins, but low in fat. It does have sunflower oil in it, but it only saturates 1.3 grams of fat. So when you think about the normal bacon, it's not that. It's probably like 10 or even more grams. So obviously, when you put it on a high pan with no oil or anything, it just sizzles a little bit. A lot of the oil is left on the pan, and then I'm left with crispy rashes, which are made from plants. And I said, like, this is so amazing. So I don't know whether they have it in America. If you watch it from America, I have no clue. But the indication in here, when I go to America next year, I'm definitely going to do my research. I went to America now, I think 3 years ago, just before pandemic. I went in January to America, to San Diego. It was beautiful. And I went to the supermarket and they had so much healthy stuff. And I went to the what I did, I had a meeting with people. I just put like a free meeting for Eventbrite, how to eat more plant-based food. And we met in the gardens. I brought some food and we ate, we discussed this, and it was so good. I'm probably going to do something like that again. It was a crazy ride, I must say. I went for my coaching conference, but I've used it to meet with people. And so as well, because that is interesting. And I went on my own, but I absolutely loved it. But yeah, so this is definitely something to try. So there's plenty things out there. It doesn't have to be very expensive. We don't have to miss out on anything. This is something that will help you to basically make sustainable changes. If you make the food exciting, if you think like the food I eat doesn't have to be like broccoli and cucumbers and tomatoes all day, every day, you can have some other exciting food which explain. I mean, going vegan in 2019, I'm not fully vegan anymore, but because I have fish, um, it, I explored so much in terms of the food. I went to study naturopathic chef, so I cook for health, and I absolutely love it because some people come and I'm bored with the food I eat. I'm absolutely bored with everything I've already tried. I don't know what's healthy, what's unhealthy, what's good for me, what's not good for me. I'm living in the confusion and I don't have any joy of actually consuming the food or preparing the food. And we can go through periods of time. And sometimes I don't have any creativity in me as well. And I help myself with products I buy. But I also go on the cooking courses, like or even online, just to get that inspiration flowing. Some people, I mean, I hate being in kitchen, right? When we spend so much time on food, and food is such an important part of our lives. Like food is food, right? But food makes us feel in a certain way in terms of our energy levels and this. Wouldn't you like to put in some effort into it and love it, right? And I know that family cooking can be sometimes really challenging because you have people eating this, not that, and it becomes very a kind of a struggle to meet all the expectations and demands. But I always say, look after yourself first, and everything else will come. Okay, so just to finish, oh my goodness, my I'm gonna be here forever with you because my mouse has died. So I think I need to entertain you a little bit. That's funny. Oh, it's so funny. Because my mouse battery died. So I need to wait until it charges a little bit. So I'm going to entertain you. I can't sing though. Have a cup of coffee. Right. So if you are live or watch it, later, just give me some comments. I would love to connect with you. I want to understand what are your struggles, what what is bothering you in terms of the food, what questions you have in terms of pre-diabetes and diabetes, sugar, right? um, and I want to encourage you to make simple changes first, anything that is basically um, easy to implement right now, right? What is that thing that can help you on your journey right now, right? And try not to go into extremes, because it will make the whole journey um, far more difficult, right? You're going to get some, uh, because at the end of the day, when you think about marathon, when you run marathon or when you are a runner, you want to get to the finishing line. And the finishing line, it's only going to be achievable if you know how to pace yourself for such a long time. And the finishing line for diabetes, unfortunately, is not a finishing line, it's only a milestone, because we are changing our lifestyle for good. Like, there isn't any other way to prevent prediabetes like actually changing the lifestyle for good. So you really, really want to do that, like, know why you're doing it and you want to do it. And also changing the mindset around the food you have, your food you eat, so that it's not um, it becomes easy enough for you to sustain and implement, right? And I'm sure that you can do it, and I'm sure you can actually achieve it. uh, it took me 2 years to change the family habits for good, right? So that we all can eat better, right? And it still is a challenge, because human mind, it's just human mind, um, it needs a kind of this lift me up, you know, with the food and drinks, because it doesn't know any other way. So we have to teach it, right? We have to teach it that we can have beautiful energy and live beautiful life through beautiful food choices, I guess. Let me check this mouse. No, he doesn't want it. Doesn't want to do it, so it has to charge for a little bit. That's funny, right? I don't know. We can just have a bit of a journaling session as well. I always say that if you want to know what you think, start your journal and put your thoughts on paper, and make sure that you make it consistently, because we have so many different thoughts in our head. We think about different things, different ways in about ourselves, about our health. Maybe somebody else said something to us which hurts us, and we need to process those emotions. And when we process them a little bit more uh, in a kind of conscious way, we put the thoughts on the paper, we put them into the notebook or journal, then it will be far better result, rather than us have this constant food thought loop. So I'll just briefly explain the concept of the thoughts, looping thoughts. So looping thoughts is something that basically goes in the circle, right? So um, let's say, okay, so I want to start on this plan, and I want to remove as much sugar as from my diet. But I've tried it a few times and I'm not really good at it. I'll try this time. And then I go into this and I fail because, for example, on one day, I actually had some chocolates and I had some other desserts, which I didn't plan, but I had them, right? So then the thought is, I will never be able to do it. And it goes because through that one failure kind of thing, one mistake, something that has to be on our road, it has to be there for us to learn and grow. It comes back to the same thought that we are not good at it. And instead of I also instead of which is basically acknowledging that it's part of the journey and that's okay to do it from time to time and then move on with our plan. we sort of get into that looping thought of we are not good in this, and we're looking for evidence, and we are getting in this all the time. So in that looping thought of not being good enough or not being good at it, rather than acknowledging I'm this and this, so duality in this. So I'm I had a dessert, I had some chocolate yesterday in the evening because I was feeling tired, and I think I needed a reward and a treat because it was a hard working day for me, right? And but that's okay. And I am a person who is working on it and knows how to overcome it, right? So it's not that or that. We are both. We are always both. And I think it's the concept that helped a lot of my clients and acknowledging the fact we're not perfect. Yes, we're trying to, oh, like we are overcoming it, like not trying even, we are overcoming it. But sometimes that's what happens. And the good thing is about going back to that event and analyzing a little bit and processing our thoughts, which led us to a certain behavior so that it doesn't happen again. Or at least we give ourselves a proper choice rather than doing this out of certain thought in our brain that we deserve a treat. And then there is no other treat than a chocolate, pack of crisps, I don't know, take away highly processed food, because we can reward ourselves in so many other ways, right? So I just want to make sure, it it works. Okay, so I'll just finish this off. So that's what you can set your intention for, and of course is the reminder of my offer for the reverse diabetes naturally course, $97, and also one-on-one coaching only until the end of this year. 4 session, £45 per session. I would love to be able to help you in this on this journey. I think it's all worth it. If you think about the investment, just instead of new things to buy, invest in yourself. It will pay so much. It will be so much rewarding. Definitely in that. So I want minimum 4 sessions because I believe that we can create sustainable results. Some people need longer as well, but 4 session, if you are ready to change, quite often is just changing a certain thoughts in your brain and then giving you the tools, and off you go on your journey. All right. I hope you have a lovely Sunday, and I hope to be in touch, connect with you, sign up for the masterclass. I will post the information in the group, and take care. Have a lovely rest of the Sunday and the week.